Mexico grants emergency authorization for the Pfizer-BioNTech coronavirus vaccine candidate. Bolivia's civil registry makes history, approving a same-sex civil union following lengthy litigation. And Indian farmers intensify road blockades in protest against market reform laws. Hello and welcome to teleSUR. I'm Doris Polo in Quito, Ecuador, and this is from the South. The Mexican government has granted emergency authorization for the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. This week, the government announced it would begin the vaccination process at the end of this month, with the first batch of 250,000 set to immunize 125,000 people, since the full dose requires 2 shots.
Mexico is
the fourth country whose health regulatory agency, COFEPRIS, has granted emergency use authorization to the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine against the SARS-CoV-2 virus for the prevention of COVID-19. This is certainly a reason for hope of tranquility. We are already prepared to issue the purchase order. Throughout this moment, we have been in close conversation with Pfizer, so that Pfizer grants it, and once the purchase order is made, Pfizer reconstitutes the product or conditions it for 8 days, as it's called technically, and sends it. The distribution points have been defined.
Staying in Mexico, archaeologists have excavated more sections of an extraordinary Aztec tower of human skulls under Mexico City. The country's National Institute of Anthropology and History said a further 119 skulls had been uncovered. The tower was discovered in 2015 during the restoration of a building in the capital. It is believed to be part of a skull rack from the temple to the Aztec god of the sun, war, and human sacrifice. For the first time in its history, Bolivia's civil registry has authorized a same-sex civil union following a 2-year legal battle. David Aruquipa, a 48-year-old businessman, and Guido Montano, a 45-year-old lawyer, were initially denied the right to register their union in 2018 by authorities who said the country's laws did not allow same-sex marriage. While the Constitution still does not permit same-sex unions, the couple argued successfully that the prohibition violated international human rights standards and constituted discrimination under the nation's laws.
It is a historical event. We are in a WhatsApp group of more than 300 activists. At the national level, there are some representatives who are here today. But just that next step, we know that this situation, and that's why it's only a half happiness. This situation benefits us both, enables our registration, but this is not yet open to all, the gay and lesbian population. Our rights have historically been excluded. So I am 40 years old. So for 40 years, I have had to work to transform my family.
Guatemala saw another peaceful demonstration on Friday calling for the resignations of President Alejandro Giammattei, his Vice President Guillermo Castillo, and other officials. Members of at least 10 social movements, collectives, and universities held a march from the Attorney General's office that passed by Congress and ended at the presidential residence. Protesters also stressed that the Interior Minister and Director of the National Civil Police should be removed from office due to their responsibility in the use of excessive force against demonstrators by police during mobilizations on November 21st. Furthermore, they demanded the resignation of all Congress members and for next year's budget to prioritize children, the youth, women, and indigenous peoples. Still in Guatemala, the indigenous community of Campur, located in the northern part of the country, remains flooded and isolated 1 month after Hurricanes Eta and Iota devastated the region and left at least 160 dead or missing.
About 700 houses are underwater, including schools, Catholic Church, Nazarene Church, Baptist Church.
It's very hard to think that I've lost my house, because I put my sweat on it. There was my job. It's very sad that I lost my house.
Unfortunately, the water was filling up very quickly and we didn't have time to get all of our stuff out. Some people couldn't rescue almost anything. They lost everything and we couldn't ask the neighbors for help because they were evacuating.
The Venezuelan government has denounced an attempt to attack the El Palito oil refinery in the coastal city of Puerto Cabello. According to the information offered by Oil Minister Tariq alAissami, on December 10th, 2 Venezuelan citizens were detained who were part of this terrorist plan, which had the objective of detonating explosives to destroy the refinery and its main pipeline. The entire plot was prepared in Colombia by deserters of the Venezuelan armed forces who enjoy the protection and complicity of Colombian President Iván Duque. The plan was for these groups to enter Venezuelan territory and create an apparent state of insurgency against the government. The 2 citizens were detained in possession of ammunition and explosives, all of which were seized in the state of Carabobo just hours before the scheduled time of the attack, which was to be perpetrated before the parliamentary elections on Sunday. Well, Venezuelan Vice President for the Economy Tariq alAissami stressed that the terrorist plan against the country's oil industry was organized in Colombia.
This entire terrorist plan was prepared in Colombia by deserters from the Bolivarian National Armed Forces, who enjoy the protection and support of the Colombian government of Iván Duque, who authorized, I repeat, who directly authorized this foiled terrorist attack. In addition, the Colombian authorities, the NI, the GIL, and the Gaula facilitated the transfer and irregular importation of supplies and devices for the execution of this serious crime.
The oil minister also noted that the plan to destabilize the Venezuelan oil sector included the advice from the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency.
It is also important to denounce that the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States, the CIA, and the National Security Agency, NSA, knew about and advised all the terrorists involved in this attack. We also point out that as part of the strategy, these groups, which were trained and equipped in Colombia, would enter Venezuelan territory to carry out these serious acts and simulate that they were supposedly internal subversive cells opposed to the revolutionary Bolivarian government.
We'll take a short break now. Don't go away.
Acompañamos a los pueblos que resisten en cada una de sus luchas.
Somos esa ventana que se abre para visibilizarlos entre fronteras.
Thursdays, only on teleSUR.
Welcome back. Argentina's lower house of Congress has passed a bill to legalize abortion. During a special session, the bill legalizing abortion and protecting the rights of pregnant women received 131 votes in favor and 117 against. The debate was marked by the presence of thousands of people gathered outside Congress to express their support for the legislation. The bill was sent to Congress by the executive branch, and among other points, it establishes that women have the right to an abortion until the 14th week of pregnancy. The bill is expected to be debated in the Argentine Senate next week, where, if approved, it could become law before the end of the year. Pro-choice activists in Argentina celebrated on Friday after lawmakers approved the bill that could lead to the legalization of abortion if passed in the Senate.
From the National Campaign for the Right to Abortion, we have been fighting for this fundamental human right for 15 years, for which we feel a deep joy and emotion. We held a vigil for 21 hours outside Congress and in more than 40 places around the country, taking to the streets once again so that the lawmakers knew that they had to decide as the people had already decided. And of course, now we have to insist that the Senate immediately takes the same path and finally settles this historical debt that democracy has with us. We didn't agree with the inclusion in the bill of consensus objection clause, and in fact we believe that this only serves to block abortion in some places where this resource will be used. But hey, we're going to continue fighting with the activists to guarantee that in those places also have those who guarantee abortion rights.
Shifting gears now, Peru's Congress has approved a resolution for constitutional reform that eliminates parliamentary immunity. The proposal modifies Article 93 of the Constitution, referring to parliamentary immunity, to give the Supreme Court the authority to charge Congress members during the exercise of their mandate. The motion was approved with 103 votes in favor, 14 against, and 3 abstentions, and must now be ratified in a subsequent session by at least 87 legislators in order to be definitively enacted. The president of the parliamentary committee that promoted the measure stressed that parliamentary immunity must be eliminated from the country's constitutional order. Over to Chile, more than 4.9 million citizens have requested a second early withdrawal of 10% from their private pension fund so far on the second day of the process, intended as a means to alleviate the economic crisis that has intensified due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this bill on the second withdrawal was approved by Congress on December 4th with the argument that the funds would help Chileans to better cope with the financial strains sparked by the coronavirus. On Thursday, pension fund administrators activated the electronic platforms from the withdrawal request to be submitted. The average amount of money withdrawn in this second process has been about $1,900. The first early withdrawal of pension funds was enacted in July of this year, and to date, more than 9 million people have opted to make use of the money. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel announced on Thursday that the island will end its dual currency system, gradually eliminating the convertible peso to leave just the Cuban peso as of January 1st. Wages will also increase fivefold as part of large-scale reform of salaries and pensions. The reform will see the convertible peso, which is pinned to the US dollar and was introduced in 1994 to replace the US currency, phased out over the next 6 months to leave just the regular peso. The idea is to make the Cuban economy more efficient. It comes at a time when the country is reeling from tighter sanctions imposed by the Trump administration and from the drop in tourism and remittances due to the coronavirus pandemic. The new measures, first announced in 2013 before being repeatedly delayed, come at a delicate time for the Cuban economy, which is expected to shrink by 8% this year.
When there is only one currency, the state will know how it is going to sell the merchandise so that we poor people can live.
Our country needs a change, and what better way to start than with the economy, which is a very important area, which can provide a more stable basis for new development and the new directions we want to take.
It is a great gift for all Cubans that we can start from January the 1st, and that day has been chosen precisely to begin on January the 1st.
The President of the Republic of Congo, Denis Sassou Nguesso, will seek a 4th term in office in elections due next March, according to the country's ruling coalition. Pierre Moussa, acting chairman of the 17 parties in the coalition, states that every party in the presidential majority opted or will do so shortly for President Sassou Nguesso's candidacy. Sassou Nguesso, aged 77, has in total spent 36 years in power since he first became president in 1979. In 2015, the country staged a referendum on removing a 70-year age limit and a ban on presidents serving more than 2 terms, which paved the way for Sassou Nguesso to secure a 3rd term in elections in March 2016. The main party in the governing majority, the Congolese Party of Labour, headed by Moussa, had already named the current president as its candidate in a congress held in the capital, Brazzaville, last December. Egyptian health officials announced the nation has received its first shipment of vaccines developed by the China National Pharmaceutical Group, Sinopharm, and will get more deliveries soon. The shipment arrived at Cairo's airport from the United Arab Emirates, which has been carrying out phase 3 clinical trials of the vaccine. The UAE Health Ministry said this week that Sinopharm-produced vaccine has 86% efficacy, citing interim analysis of the late-stage clinical trials. The vaccine candidate has already been used on about 1 million people in China in an emergency program. Egypt's health authorities said the vaccine, taken in 2 doses 21 days apart, will be free of charge, and the government will prioritize vaccinating medical staff and people with chronic diseases. The United Nations World Food Programme warned on Friday that famine is looming in Yemen and stressed that the world needs to act now.
Yemen remains one of the worst humanitarian crises that the world has ever seen. What is happening right now is that the window to prevent famine in the country is narrowing very fast. We are running out of time. The number of children that need treatment for acute malnutrition as I speak is about 2 million, with approximately 360,000 at risk of dying in case they don't get any treatment. You're talking of a population of about 30.5 million, yet 24.3 million are in need of humanitarian assistance of some kind. And approximately 16 million people cannot put food on their tables. This is a disaster. This is a ticking time bomb, and the world needs to act, and to act now.
We have more stories coming up. Stay with us.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Sean todos muy bienvenidos a Vidas. Hay lugares donde el arte se unifica con el orgullo de los pueblos. Y esos lugares están llenos de colores, alegría, pasión, tradiciones, arraigo, valor y entrega.
Real Life. Fridays. Only on teleSUR.
Indian police stopped farmers blocking major highways and taking over more roads in the capital on Saturday as a 2-week campaign against market reform laws intensified. The strike follows 5 rounds of talks between the farmers and the Indian government that have failed to produce any breakthroughs. The farmers are protesting reforms that they say could devastate crop prices and reduce their earnings. They say the laws will lead the government to stop buying grain at minimum guaranteed prices and result in exploitation by corporations that will push down costs.
Now, they are not allowing new farmers to join the protests. They are all being stopped along the route, wherever farmers are trying to come together in large numbers to protest. They are being blocked. This is all an attempt by the government to quash the farmer protests.
On Friday, the U.S. Supreme Court rejected a lawsuit backed by President Donald Trump to overturn Joe Biden's election victory, ending a desperate attempt to get legal issues that state and federal judges had rejected before the nation's highest court.
The court's decision to reject Texas's lawsuit really ends a desperate attempt to get legal issues before the court that had previously been rejected by state and federal judges. And what the import of the decision is that it really ends any possibility, however remote, that Trump and his supporters could use the courts to overturn the will of the voters in this election. The Electoral College, which meets Monday, is now on track to vote and provide Biden with a electoral majority and his formal election as the next president.
Well, U.S. President-elect Joe Biden welcomed the news of experts recommending the granting of emergency approval for Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine.
The FDA committee recommended emergency use authorization for Pfizer's BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. But we're grateful for the scientists at these, not only there, but other great organizations, researchers who developed this vaccine and several others on the way. And we're just as grateful to the scientists and the public experts who evaluated its safety and efficiency free from political influence. I want to make it clear to the public, you should have confidence in this. There is no political influence. These are first-rate scientists taking their time looking at all of the elements that need to be looked at. Scientific integrity led us to this point.
Staying in the U.S., a car struck several pedestrians taking part in a Black Lives Matter protest in New York City on Friday, according to police and media. A spokesman for the New York Police Department confirmed that the vehicle struck multiple people at 4:08 p.m. local time and that those injured had been taken to various hospitals, adding that it is not thought that any of the injuries are life-threatening. According to the spokesman, it was too early to tell whether it was intentional or a traffic accident, and the driver remains in custody. The New York Police Department tweeted that updates will follow. Cyprus announced on Wednesday that it would close hospitality venues and shopping malls and ban church attendance over the Christmas holidays to curb a spike in coronavirus cases. The health minister announced the tighter restrictions following an emergency cabinet meeting. Rapid antigen tests throughout Cyprus have shown that the virus is spread across every part of the country. The new measures will be enforced from December 11th to 31st. Cyprus imposed a nationwide 8-hour nighttime curfew from 9 p.m. on November 30th, while hospitality venues were ordered to shut at 7 p.m. These measures were to expire on December 13th if the COVID-19 situation improved. But the country registered a high of 419 daily cases on Tuesday and 5 deaths, making it the deadliest day on record. Cyprus has largely kept a lid on the pandemic by introducing an early lockdown in March that was gradually eased from early May. Health authorities blame the spike on Cypriots flouting hygiene rules, including mask wearing and social distancing. Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin has noted that Ireland is already preparing for a no-deal Brexit. Ireland, a member of the European Union, shares a border with the United Kingdom, and the two are major trading partners. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen have given their negotiators until Sunday before a decision is made on whether to keep talking or give up on reaching a deal.
So we are preparing for a no-deal Brexit. The budget that we passed was based on the premise of a no-deal Brexit because we have to prepare for all scenarios. We obviously don't want the no-deal outcome, but we have to prepare for it. It remains to be seen. I mean, negotiations are still ongoing, and I think the implications are very serious for all concerned in the event of a no-deal. And I think all politicians in the United Kingdom and across Europe need to reflect on that.
Austria's Constitutional Court has struck down a law introduced last year which banned the use of headscarves in primary schools, saying the measure was unconstitutional and discriminatory.
So-called headscarf ban at the elementary school is lifted as constitutional. With this regulation, the legislator is thus singling out a specific form of religiously and ideologically connoted clothing which is compatible in one way or another with other non-prohibited religiously or ideologically connoted clothing customs.
With that, we've come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. For our viewers in Africa, remember you can find us on Starsat Channel 461 in South Africa and Channel 539 in Nigeria. And join us on social media for TeleSUR English. I am Doris Polo. Thanks for watching.